so based off of some requests I got, which I think were a really cool idea, to basically just start doing a series where I tell you guys some of my most fun or crazy stories from my career in Special Forces. You know, there's actually a lot of fun or funny stories, you know, sad stories, gunfight stories, combat stories, war stories. Might do a little bit of everything. But yeah, the one I'm going to start with is probably the most ridiculous story of my entire career in SF. This story involves something going all the way up to the USASOC commander. That's how big of a deal this was, okay? For something as trivial as you guys are going to find out, okay? The stories, if you were around first group, anywhere from 2018 and that time frame, you know this story, and even traversed across a lot of group because it's so ridiculous, right? Or the regiment. All right, so we call this story, and it's actually on this plaque right here underneath my bio. It says winner of the Battle of the Antelope Court, okay? So that's what this story is. It's how our ODA ended up in court and under investigation over an antelope. All right, so let's just get into it, get some background, and then I'll walk you guys through it. Okay, so some background for what we're doing. Okay, we are, this is 2017, maybe going into 2018. Our ODA is getting ready for our next combat rotation into Afghanistan, which includes things called PMTs or pre-mission training events. We go train for 3-4 weeks in different places as a team to, you know, really get ready for war. So we are doing it at a place called Cannon Air Force Base in New Mexico. Okay, Air Force Base is going to be important later in the story. And, you know, typically this is just out in the middle of the desert, but apparently for whatever reason we wanted to go train there. Terrible place, by the way. Not a great place for training. Anyway, so that's what we're doing. So we're going to do about a 3-4 week training event, prep, pre-mission training, get ready to go to war in Afghanistan. Okay, so we get there, we get our range control brief. Okay, the interesting thing about, I don't call it interesting, but about the way it works in the training area outside of Cannon Air Force Base is called Melrose Training Area. What's unique about this is it's owned by the state of New Mexico, not the federal government. So even though it's a federal military training area, it's owned by the state. Most places, most military bases don't work like that. Okay, it's going to be very important for later in the story. Anyway, we get our range control brief. You know, they basically tell us, you know, there's wildlife out here everywhere. We don't care if you kill it. We have, and actually Melrose is a very, it's a really common spot for CAS, all right? So close air support, so AC-130s, A-10s, all this stuff train out there. You know, the wildlife gets killed all the time. That's the way it goes. That's what they brief us. No big deal. Moving on, okay? So what we're doing on the training day, we're out doing a big live fire event, and you know, just to get straight to the point, during this huge live fire event we're doing, an antelope ends up getting killed, okay? So for reference, these antelope are not like deer, okay, where they stay away from people and all this. At one point, at a different time, for reference what these antelope do, we had 4 gun trucks online, 50 cal machine guns, miniguns, everything, doing vehicle-based training. I mean, throwing thousands of rounds downrange, and a whole pack of antelope just runs out between our cars and runs out into the middle of the field where we're shooting the bullets, okay? It's almost like they want to die. Not like deer, stupid animals, right? Anyway, so we're doing a different live fire event. Antelope gets killed. We realize it. We don't think anything of it, but, you know, my philosophy as someone who likes to hunt has always been, you don't just kill an animal and leave it there, right? If an animal gets killed, or if you're going to kill an animal, you're going to use it, right? You're going to eat it. That's just the moral thing to do. So I decided to give a quartering class, a survival class, to my ODA. Take guys out who haven't done something like this before, show them how to quarter the animal. And we just take a few of the legs off and things like that. And we don't take the horns, right? Or anything like that. We don't want it to look like we poached this animal or something stupid. Just thinking nothing of it because range control told us it would be no big deal. So we do that, quarter the animal. We go back to this place where we're staying overnight on base. We wake up in the next morning, and there's a strange man who's looking through the back of our Humvees and our Razor, little ATVs that we have, looking for stuff. And we're like, what is this guy doing? Eventually someone, we get out and talk to him, and he's the game warden. Okay, so we're like, what the hell is the state game warden? At this point, we don't even realize the state owns the land. Okay, what is the game warden doing out here? And he starts asking us questions, you know, did you guys kill an animal? And we're forthright, yeah, animal accidentally got killed on the range, recorded it, did a class on it, no big deal, no harm, no foul. And he's like, okay, yeah, no big deal, no big deal. He leaves. We don't think anything of it. And then, pretty much from that point, all hell breaks loose, okay? We get the Air Force Wing Commander, so the officer, of course, in charge of the entire base. He gets notified, I guess, and he's freaking out about this animal that's been poached, and that the game warden is going to press charges against us, which we're obviously confused about because we just talked to him and he said it was no big deal. And so, yeah, and this starts escalating more and more and more of people freaking out over this antelope that we've already been told by range control doesn't matter if these animals get killed, who cares? If they do in training, right? And so now it's starting to spiral out of control. Now it's getting reported up to our, back to first group. And then it turns into a military investigation, gets called out. So they fly in people from the military to do a full-on investigation into this animal being poached, right? The game warden then decides he was going to send us to court. Okay, so we get summons to court over this animal, potentially for poaching an animal, right? This is just absolutely getting, and keep in mind, guys, we're like 30 days away from deploying to war, to combat. That's what we're here to do, and this is what these fucking people are trying to do to our ODA over an antelope that got killed on a live fire range, right? Anyway, so yeah, now we realize the game warden, he's a piece of shit. He lied to us about, even caring, and then behind our back is trying to screw us over. The Air Force Wing Commander, he wants us off the base. He doesn't want anything to do with Special Forces teams here. And so everybody's ignoring them, or ignoring the Wing Commander, not giving any credit. Our command doesn't care. Nobody cares. Like, whatever, man. So he decides he's going to report this all the way up to USAC, United States Special Operations Command, right? The ones in charge of all special operations. So this message gets relayed via email as a complaint to Special Operations Command, all the way to the Special Operations Commander at the time, General Tovo, who is in charge of the Green Beret Foundation right now. So shout out to General Tovo. If you ever see this, you're the man. Anyway, and so this huge complaint email about this goes up to General Tovo. General Tovo's response is, well, how'd the antelope taste? Right? So now it's getting squashed back down on the Wing Commander. Basically, he told, go fuck yourself. This is stupid. We're not wasting our time with this. Leave our guys alone. So then that's when he comes after us with the state, with the court, to go into court. So we get summoned to court in New Mexico. Our whole ODA shows up to court, full uniform, right? I basically am the one speaking on behalf of the ODA, sort of taking the fall for it, I guess you could say. There's like 10 people that go before me. We actually go last to talk to the judge. It's somebody in there for meth, somebody in there for domestic violence, list goes on. She filters through them, she gets to us, she closes the door to the courtroom, and she starts laughing, and she says, what are you guys doing in my court here? All right, and so I explained to her about what happened, how we're getting ready for and things like this. She shakes her head. She's like, this is the first time in my entire career as a judge that I don't want to charge someone for anything. This is absolutely ridiculous, right? She throws the whole thing out of court. She says, this is stupid. Go on your way, guys. We find out the game warden was trying to get her to charge us with poaching all sorts of crazy shit. She basically said, no charges, get out of my fucking courtroom, you guys are fine. Military investigation comes back, and the military investigation comes back, no wrongdoing, okay? So now the wing commander, you can imagine, is fucking furious, right? He's been stomping his feet and throwing a tantrum about it, all the way up to the USAC commander who tells him to pound sand. Federal investigation tells him to pound sand. The judge throws us out of court, tells him to pound sand. So he uses his authority and kicks us off his base, right? And we head home. So what happens then? Okay, so again, obviously, you know, whatever, we get kicked off the base. We had like 2 days left anyway of the entire thing. No harm, no foul. I get back, and here's a little insight, okay, into the officers and what you need to look out for if you're in the military, people in your chain of command, right, who are pieces of shit sometimes. So we get back, and we think nothing else can come of this, right? Again, the federal investigation came back, no wrongdoing. Obviously, the state threw it out, no charges. It's over, right? No. We get me and my team sergeant get called into the battalion commander's office, who we really like, great guy. Anyway, we get called into his office, and he says, I need to talk to you guys. I'm going to give you guys are getting local letter of reprimands, which is basically a piece of paper that says you were bad, you were naughty, okay? It's basically nothing. And he's telling us, hey, you know, you guys are getting a local letter of reprimand for what you did and this and that and that and what happened in New Mexico. And I just straight up asked him, I said, sir, I'm not sure why we're even getting a local letter of reprimand when we did nothing wrong. The federal investigation said we did nothing wrong. The state said we did nothing wrong. Why are we getting punished with anything? And he says, come here, let me show you something on my computer. Walk over, he opens up an email from the group commander at the time. This big 3-page fucking clusterfuck of words, all talking about how you better fucking fry these guys because they made me look bad and I had to deal with all this. Not the fact that somebody else outside of our unit tried to fuck our ODA over and that he wants to protect us. No, it was that he had to deal with something like this and he wanted us torched and our careers ended. So luckily our battalion commander said, yeah, sure, I'm on it. I'll fucking screw these guys. And he gave us, you know, bullshit letter of reprimand, threw it in his desk. They probably threw it in the trash right after we left. That way he could report that he took care of it. You know what I mean? So just so you know, there's a lot of that out there in the military of officers who will absolutely fuck over their guys in their unit over little things like that may not even be their fault. So just a little learning experience. But yeah, so that is the story of how our entire ODA ended up in a New Mexico court right before we deployed to war over a fucking antelope, which we finally found out, you know, this was this huge issue that went all the way up to USAC command. So I finally asked, I think the judge, and I asked her, you know, what's the actual fine for poaching an antelope or taking the antelope out of season? That was what they're trying to get us with. She was like, it's $125. They're basically pests there, right? It's not like here in Oregon, you take a deer out of season or something like that where, you know, they take your truck, your guns, your house, $10,000 in fine. It was a $125 fine. So that's all of this over something like that. But anyway, guys, that's the first of our series of, you know, interesting or funny stories that happened in my career. All right, take care.